In this screencast, I want to walk you through the real simple setup of implementing something like the Facebook plugin for liking a page or recommending it, and how to get that set up on a page. It's pretty straightforward. They have some really nice tools built in, but in case you want to see what it looks like in actual practice, this will help you walk through it. So I'm actually going to choose their like button, and what's great about some of the tools they provide for the developers is that they give you some really nice generators here. They list below all the different parameters you can set in the code it's going to produce, but you also can just really stick with what they're going to provide here. The setup's pretty straightforward. If you're going to add this to a page, this is the page you would put in right here. What's great about this little snippet right down here at the bottom is that it does respond to what you type in here. So if I say I want it to be, and we'll just walk through this, if I said show me what it looks like when I want to link to, say I was adding a like button to a page like apple.com, watch what happens to that. It refreshes and you'll see that it shows you how many people have liked that page, and it tells you that, oh, by the way, I'm logged in as me. I have not liked that page myself, so that's why there is no, it doesn't say you like this and has it highlighted, etc. So it does respond nicely, which is great. So what I'm going to do for our purposes here is I'm actually going to add this to my site where I keep some of my illustration work. This one right here, you can see down here at the bottom, it just has my copyright. I'm going to put that like button right below it, and so we're going to use this URL. This is the one where it's going to go. And this is important because this is what describes and tells me that, look at this, there are no current users that are liking this, so that's what we're going to use. I can set some parameters like how wide I want this to be, how tall I want it to be. I'm going to leave the height open to what it needs, in general, just to leave it open and let it CSS handle that. I can change the color scheme from light to dark. I'll show you how we can also adjust a few of the other aspects via CSS, but for now, we'll just use this, and then really, I'll go ahead and set this up to say, let me make it a certain width. I believe 280 is what I looked at and said that would be a good width for my particular usage. Here, and all I did is I added to the page, I checked it out, and it seemed like that would work. Again, the benefit we get that we can test this is you can see the default look of this is, do you want to like this? Here's the icon for Facebook, and it says, be the first of your friends to like this. If I was to change this to another site that has maybe more likes on it, and go back here and let it refresh, it actually changes to say how many people have liked it and be the first. So the width is important when you add more content there. The other reason why the width and the height are important are that you can also choose to change the appearance of it. Again, I'm going to switch this back to what it's going to be. Just paste that in there. Is that I can choose to say I want the standard view, which is this one. I can tell it to just show me a box that says how many people have liked it, kind of like a little hit counter there, which is nice, but you can see that's going to change the overall height and width it's going to need. If you give it too little, it's still going to make it just as big as it needs to. It's really, you're setting a recommended maximum, but obviously if it doesn't fit, it's still going to fit in there because the CSS for this particular iframe is going to overwrite what you're doing. And the last one I can choose is the button count here as well. For now, I'm going to work with the standard that works for me. I also have the option to choose between having the word say like or recommend. I'm going to change that to recommend. What makes sense to me is I'm putting this on something maybe more business related, more corporate. Recommend kind of makes more, or service related, makes sense there, versus like for something like an entertainment or something that's maybe a little more recreational. A couple other options we have here is I have a button here where I could send it to other people. That's what this button is. Or I could actually have it when I have lots of people that have like this. It'll put tiny little avatars about 16 pixels or so, 20 pixels squared down there as well. I'm going to turn that off. I just want to have the option for people to recommend it, to like it, and then it'll say how many people have and be among your friends. I think that works for what I want to do. Again, you can totally look through the rest of their documentation on how else you could customize this or any questions you might have. They have good documentation, but really this is all I need. This will work perfect for our usage. And when I click Get Code, it actually provides me quite a few ways I can implement this. It used to be that I could drop in, the easiest way was an iframe. I would take this, I would paste it on my page, and I would get the output of what we're looking at, and it would just work. Let me open up Coda here. I'm actually just going to open up a brand new page just so you can see what I mean, and we'll open up a little preview window just so you can see exactly what we're talking about. And let me type in HTML, my little snippet here to get a basic page set up. And let's just pretend we were going to drop in the iframe. Copy that and just drop it in right here. Give it a second, and it should refresh over here. Let me save this really quick. Save it on my desktop. And that should refresh, and it looks like that's not refreshing. Let me go ahead and let's open this up in the browser. See, that should show me exactly what I wanted to see. Is a preview of what that looks like with the iframe. And you know what? It looks like it's not showing that for some reason. I'm not sure why that isn't. It should be, but again, you can test that out on your own. And the idea of why that should be showing up, oops, let's get back here. This one, there we go. Oh, there we go. I didn't put in the, right here, I need to tell it that I want it to be HTTP. There we go. And there it goes right there. Sorry about that. You'll notice actually with quite a few libraries you use online, they kind of remove that so you can set it up whether it's secure, whether it's some other protocol. They just leave that off so you can make sure that it works. I can see here now if I'm testing it locally, this is what it would look like as an iframe, which does work, but with web standards, there's a lot of reasons why we don't necessarily want to rely on an iframe to control content. We want to have a little bit more control. You have a few other options as well. You can also use their XML framework, and there are some benefits they gain as well, how you can set namespaces. A lot of app developers, as in Facebook apps, use this because they can set up certain elements of it, and they actually talk about this in some of the documentation, is how you can use their SDK to utilize things like referrals and tracking how many people are utilizing this, which is cool. And then actually, if you use a lot of this and you set up statistics on your dashboard in Facebook, you can have that read over, which is nice. For our usage, though, we'll keep it really simple, and we'll use really the more recent version, the kind of more standards-based version of HTML5. And there are two pieces here. And for every page that we want to have show our like button correctly, we're going to need both of these pieces. So it says for this first part, this is connecting us with the SDK, the JavaScript SDK, and it's going to automatically load that for us. So for this to work, again, we're going to need to put this at least one time on each of the pages, and it says that it prefers to have it after the opening body tag. So that's where we'll put it. And then this like button we can put anywhere we want on the page. It does not matter. It's basically where we want it to show up is where we need to put it. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. For our usage here, I actually have this particular site is set up using PHP, so there's a couple of different pieces, but I'm just going to put this in my header. You can see this looks just like HTML, no big deal. Here's my first body tag. I'm going to drop it in right here, so let me go back and bring in this JavaScript here. And let me paste that in. And actually, just so I know what this is, I'm going to put in a comment that says Facebook like button, just so that I know, hey, that's what this code relates to in case I forget in the future. And then let me change this to make sure that it's correctly set up. All right, there we go. And so really, once I save this, I can push it to the web, and that'll show up on all of my HTML pages. Obviously, if you're writing this not PHP, not Ruby, not something that's creating class levels for you, you'll have to go ahead and manually add that to each of your pages and make sure it's consistent, but that's not too difficult. And then I want this like button to show up the way it is currently in my footer section. So I have, this is my footer, and again, it looks simple enough. It's just the bottom part of my page, and I'm going to drop this in right after that copyright I had there previously. And you can see that looks like it's correct, so we'll go ahead and save that. I'll upload both of these. And then once those are uploaded, I'm going to go back to Safari, go back to my page, and if I hit a little bit of a refresh, we should see at the very bottom of that page, look at that, there is my like button at the bottom. Now, the reason I wanted to use this particular setup is because you may have noticed before that previously my footer had a little bit of padding on the top and bottom, and look at what's happening. Because of the way JavaScript is using the document object model, the DOM, to inject my particular code on runtime, to have that happen, it's actually pushing some of my padding below that, and so it's making it look like it's margin now. And really, that's just an aspect of what's happening here. So really, the way I can easily adjust this is, since I can't control some of the aspects of this, I would just adjust my CSS to kind of remove those pieces and kind of, again, I would just slightly adjust what I'm doing. But for the most part, this is working okay. Let me actually... I'm going to switch over to Chrome, and I'm going to look at this page and how we can apply some CSS to fix the overall appearance. But I like Chrome's Web Inspector a little bit better than Safari's. Safari's doesn't, if I pull up the Web Inspector, it's great. I can obviously select elements, it shows me stuff. But when I get to this view, there's not a lot of room for me to, when I add in styles, I can't really designate certain things that I like. So I'm going to come to Chrome. I like it a little bit better for this. So same page, I've got my like button down at the bottom. For me it says recommend, but for you it says like. And I'm going to scroll down here, and actually I'm going to hover over this and we can see a couple of things. One, like I said, if I get to my footer, you can see the information that's being pushed outside of there, so I can take off that bottom padding. And look at that, as soon as I take my padding elements off, it's because it didn't have enough room that, okay, that makes sense now, it wasn't pushing those below. So really, if I was to increase the height on this, I could probably fix that issue I'm having. So if we go ahead and we'll do height, and we'll increase it to, if we just do a big number just so we can see. Oops, let's try a bigger number so we can see. And why don't we use a tool called Xscope to make sure that I'm actually getting the size I want. This tool is great because I can drop in things like rulers, and it'll tell me how high exactly this is. It looks like the total height of that is 48, so that should be correct what I'm doing currently. Setting a size there, so there must be a size somewhere else that's affecting, not taking that into effect. Let me go ahead and take that off really quick. And if we look at this, yeah, so it looks like something's causing that to be the way it is, and it looks like that's not going to change it for us either. Let's see really quick. Alright, so it looks like I figured out the issue that was happening. What looked like a funny rendering was actually not any fault of the plugin, or really what it was is that I'm actually using, I'm going through some fun revisions with this particular site right now, but I'm actually using an image to give me a little bit of this style up here at the top, but that image doesn't extend all the way down, and it seems like I managed to not place a default color for this background. So even though it looks like it isn't expanding or it's collapsing, that's totally a visual trick of what's happening. It's just that this thing that should be taller, and the reason I found this out, again, if you're not using the really great trick of using the outline property, 1 pixel red solid, to be able to put an outline here, you can see, wait a second, that box continues down. So my footer is totally going further than what it looks like visually. It is because this particular image that I'm using does not extend all the way down. That's what's going on. So that if I do something where I just add in the actual size, oh, look at that, it actually does extend all the way down. My padding totally is taking the effect that it should. I just wasn't letting that extend as far as it needed to be. Wonderful. So once I've done that, now I can go through and look at this and see how wide these elements are. Let's just get up to where we are here. This is our particular, right here. This we can see that technically if I wanted to, I could create this where it kind of expands a little bit further across. I could go back to, once I see the implementation, I can see whether or not I like it. I could go back to our little generator here, and it's nice that this kind of keeps it all in place. I could decide if I made it wider, like maybe if I make it wider, it'll fit more words across, and so I wouldn't have to have it break. Let's use 400 just to see if it does. Look at that. And so if I wanted it to be a single line of text, I could do something like that where it's a little bit bigger, and I could get, basically it regenerates that code for me. And the difference is it does not change, and this is something I want to point out, it does not change our JavaScript. This is going to stay consistent. What it changes is the data width it's putting right here. And if I know that everything else is the same, I actually don't even need to recopy and paste this. I could be smart about that and just say, well, in my footer where I said 280 before, I'll just switch this out to 400, save it, upload it again, and then go back to where I'm looking at it in Chrome. Let me hit a refresh on that. Again, I saw that problem there. I'll fix it. But now I can see, oh, look at that. It's nice and wide, so it fills out that whole space. And let me just get up to the top of this so I can see. Now it's 400. I can make it smaller if I wanted to center it. Again, I like that in Chrome, I can kind of work with this a little bit directly and see that, oh, you know what, this might be a better fit because it's a little bit closer, or maybe right around 340 is going to work. Yeah, that's going to be perfect. So I'm going to do 350. That'll work so it looks a little bit more centered. On this particular element, I'm going to, again, I can go back and change this here to 350. So that's going to be better for what I want. And then just because I have the option to, I'm actually going to tell in my footer here, I'm going to tell this footer paragraph, which it looks like I already have a style for. Let me go ahead and put a little bit of margin on the bottom just to get that away a little bit. Oh, looks like that's too much. We'll do 0.25 ems, 1/4 of the line height there. And then really that should fix that for me. What I like about Chrome is I can copy and paste this stuff out, so I can go and open my CSS to fix that particular spacing issue there, which is wonderful. And then I saw again that my footer was missing this one little thing, so I could actually just right here correct this to fix it there, and that kind of looks a lot more of what I want it to look like. And then now once I'm done, I can go to my CSS, copy these things into my global style sheet just right here from Chrome. I can actually, what's kind of cool is I could select this whole unit, which is in my CSS, it's going to look very similar to this. I can actually copy paste it, refresh it, and it's going to look just like that, which is really great. And again, why I like using Chrome. So there you go. That's the basic implementation of how to do this. It's fun that there was a little hiccup there because that's going to happen when you work with external libraries. You're going to see some kind of stylistic issues you might need to adjust upon. If you really wanted to, you could actually, if you realize this, you can click on these elements and you can apply different styles to them. Like I could actually put in a style, since this text has a unique ID that says change the color to red, color to red or something else. But really, I'd really refrain from doing that because this is being controlled by CSS that's coming from externally from your project. So there's nothing saying that Facebook isn't going to change that on their own. And then whether it's the ID or that they're overriding your settings, it's going to look different. And really, it's nice that it's consistent across all sites because whenever someone sees that, it's like seeing the Visa or the MasterCard logos. It just adds that little bit of trust or that little bit of visual connection with them. It makes sense to leave it so that it appears familiar to what everyone else is used to instead of making it match your site. That's why everyone knows this icon immediately, is because it looks just like the icons always look. All right, so there you have it. Hopefully that's beneficial to you. Thanks a lot.